they win by a landslide. And so this whole section concludes with this summary list of all of these victories won by Moses and by Joshua. Now, let's stop for a second, because odds are that these stories and the violence in them are going to bother you. And if you're a follower of Jesus, you're bound to wonder, like, didn't Jesus say to love your enemies? Why is God declaring war here? So, first, why the Canaanites? The main reasons are actually given earlier in the biblical story, is that the culture of the Canaanites had become extremely morally corrupt, especially when it comes to sex. Go check out Leviticus chapter 18. They also widely practiced child sacrifice. Go see Deuteronomy chapter 12. And so God didn't want these practices to influence Israel. The Canaanites had to go. Which raises the second question. Did God actually command the destruction of all the Canaanites, like a genocide? So at first glance, you look at the phrases used in these stories. They totally destroyed them. They left no survivor or anything to breathe. But when you look a second time more closely, you'll see that these phrases are clearly hyperbole and not literal. So go back to the original command about the Canaanites, Deuteronomy chapter 7. Israel is first told to drive out the Canaanites, but then to totally destroy them. And then that's followed by commands to not intermarry with them or enter into business deals with them. So you can't marry someone that you've destroyed. I think you get the point. The same idea applies to the stories in Joshua. Look closely. So for example, we're told in Joshua chapter 10 that Israel left no survivors in the cities of Hebron or Debir. But then later, in chapter 15, we see these towns, and they're still populated by Canaanites. And so what we're seeing is that Joshua fits in with other ancient battle accounts by using non-literal hyperbolic language as part of the narrative style. And so the word genocide doesn't actually fit what we see here, especially in light of the stories about the Canaanites who did turn to the God of Israel, like Rahab or the Gibeonites. God was open to those who would turn to him. The last thing to think about is that these stories mark a unique moment in Israel's history. These battles were limited to the handful of people groups living in the land of Canaan. With all other nations, Israel was commanded by God to pursue peace. Go read Deuteronomy chapter 20. So the purpose of these battle stories was never to tell you, the reader, to go commit violence in God's name. Rather, they show God bringing his justice on human evil at a unique moment in history, and how he delivered Israel from being annihilated by the Canaanites. Now, let's go back to the book's design. After years of battles, we see an aging Joshua, and he starts dividing up the land for the 12 tribes of Israel. And most of this section is like lists of boundary lines. And let's be honest, it's kind of boring. It's like reading a map that has no pictures. But for the Israelites, these lists were super important. This was the fulfillment of God's ancient promises to Abraham, that his descendants would inherit the promised land. And so now it was all coming to pass right down to the detail, which leads to the final section. Joshua gives two speeches to the people. They're very similar to the final speeches of Moses in Deuteronomy. Joshua reminds them of God's generosity, how he brought them into the land and rescued them from the Canaanites. And so he calls them to turn away from the Canaanite gods and be faithful to the covenant they've made. If they do, it will lead to life and blessing in the land. But if they're unfaithful, Israel will call down on itself the same divine judgment that the Canaanites experienced. They'll be kicked off the land into exile. And so Joshua leaves Israel with a choice. What is Israel going to do? That's the big question that looms as the story ends. And that's the book of Joshua.
All right, well, thanks for being with us tonight, and we miss you. We're glad you're here. We'll see you on Sunday morning. You can see why I'm not going to begin to try to incorporate something like that myself. This is very, very well done. Every book of the Bible is done this way. If you want to go look at it, those of you that are teaching this class later, please use this resource. It's outstanding. It's a great way to kind of get a very high-level look at the book, while at the same time really diving into a lot of the main principles. Okay, some of these ideas, like the part about did God initiate a genocide, and some of the this is God's plan stuff, that's the point of the book, right? And he really does a good job of kind of encapsulating that. But I want to talk a little bit about the themes of the book first. So, what is the theme here? What do we get from Joshua? What is your theme? After watching this, after your own internal knowledge, I guess, of the book, what do you think the theme is?
Faithfulness to God.
Faithfulness to God. Why?
To reap the blessings that He's promised them.
Because He's powerful, right? I've got the word on here. My key theme of the book, conquest. Conquest. They need the promised land. The Israelites can't do it by themselves. God can, right? And right here at the very outset of this, when we look at the theme, there's where we see Jesus. Right there is where we see Jesus. I need conquest over sin. I need conquest to be able to reap that eternal reward that I need to reap one day. I can't do it by myself. Jesus can. Right? Conquest is the theme here that we see. So let's look at a few of these, sub-themes that we can see in the book, and I'm going to focus in on 3 stories, and we'll kind of read a couple of passages about each one and then see what we can glean out of it with the 15 minutes that we have left. I like to do this when I look at a new passage in the Old Testament. A lot of times when I study a book of the Old Testament, I kind of key in on it, and I don't think about anything except what's going on in these pages. And I forget about the fact that the rest of the world, the rest of the continents, the rest of the people that are not involved in this story are developing. The world is going on and it's growing. So I like to look at what's happening around the world while this is happening right here. So the book of Joshua is happening. We've gone to this point in Deuteronomy. The book that we had for this class, it said this would have taken place around 1400 BC. After a little study, I kind of disagree with that. I think it's about 1250 or 1200. So what else is happening around that time in the world? This is the end of the Bronze Age, the beginning of the Iron Age. The Mesopotamian Empire and civilization, so that would have been the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and these people, they are well established. They've been around for multiple thousands of years now. Egyptian civilization, very similar. They've been around for a long time. They're very powerful. As we just saw, God had to take them down himself with the 10 plagues. So they've been thriving for over 2,000 years. There's people in India right now. They've been around for 1,000 years. We've got artifacts that date back that far. The Chinese, the Greek, and the Nubian civilizations, so a little bit farther south in Africa, they've been around for around 800 years. 300 years prior to this, the first people arrived in Mesoamerica. Okay, so a lot of the people that would end up being the Aztec civilization, they've just arrived where they're actually going to set up camp. And as far as we know, we see no permanent settlements of people that have made it all the way down to South America yet. So you can see the people expanding, right? Everybody's expanding. The world is beginning to grow. That puts everything in a different light for me. I just like to know that. I don't have any kind of tidbit we can learn from it. It's just really cool for me to be able to understand this. It brings new light to what we're seeing. But the themes of the book, the conquest of Canaan and the conquest that is completed by God and not by man. So I'm going to give us 3 key sub-themes of this book, if you want to write these down. These are the things we can take away. Okay? First of all, from this book, I see this is God's plan, and it's not man's plan. This is God's plan, and it's not man's plan. Somebody, if somebody will read for me, go to Numbers chapter 13. We're going to rewind back. I don't know who taught Numbers, but we're going to copy whatever they talked about in this book. Numbers chapter 13. So Israel right here at the beginning of Joshua, they're on the brink of entering the land. We see in Joshua chapter 3 where they actually do the crossing over of the Jordan. But if you think about it, they've been here before, right? They've been right in the same location. They've been standing on the edge of the Jordan River, ready to cross over into the promised land before, and God said, no, you're not ready, right? Somebody read the first 3 verses of Numbers chapter 13.
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them. So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran, according to the command of the Lord, all of them men who were heads of the children of Israel.
All right, so this is God's idea, right? God comes up with this. He's the one commanding Moses that this is how you're supposed to move forward right here. Get you some people and send them into the land. This is God's idea. So my question for us right now, just a quick little discussion thought, is why? Why did he do that? If he's powerful enough to take down this civilization, he knows he is. Why does he tell them, okay, first you go send some spies out there and see if it's ready to be taken?
Just to test their faith.
To test their faith. Why test their faith right now?
You want them to buy into what we're doing now. You don't want them to step back and say, well, go ahead, Lord, and do what you want to do. And he's always worked through man.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? God doesn't want a bunch of robots. God doesn't want a bunch of people that are just, blindly doing what he says because he'll annihilate you otherwise, right? He doesn't want a bunch of robots. God wants people to willingly follow him. What did he want out of this scenario? Sending the spies into Canaan. He wanted those spies to come back and say, you know what? There's a lot of civilization there. There's a lot of big people there. But it's a great place. But it's going to be really tough to take this. God can do it, though. Let's go. That's the response that he wanted, right? Somebody pick up reading in verse 4. Or excuse me, not in verse 4. Let's skip ahead to verse 25 and read 25 through 33. I hope I got that right. Let me check real quick. Yeah, Numbers 13, beginning verse 25, and read through verse 33. Somebody.
And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him and said, we went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. And Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight.
So even after seeing, they were right in the midst of Egypt, right? Probably the mightiest civilization that had existed in the world to that point, and probably for a long time afterwards, maybe until the Romans came on the scene. Okay, the Egyptians ruled the world at that point, and they had just witnessed God utterly destroy them and only pull back when they said, okay, you guys get out of here. And even then, the Egyptians followed them out, right? And followed them all the way to the Red Sea. I keep saying Jesus, but God parted that Red Sea and then brought it down over the entire Egyptian army, including Ramses, the Pharaoh. Killed every one of them. They had seen this. They stood on the banks of the Red Sea and watched it. But then they get to this point. What happened? What happened to them? They had lost their faith. They lost their faith in God. They lost the point that this is His plan, and it was not their plan. This is His power, and it was not their power. So they continue on. They decide that they're going to rebel. They're going to be upset about it. God pronounces judgment on them. Israel says, okay, whatever, we'll go in here and we'll take the city. We'll go up against, I think it was Ai or whoever it was. We're going to go up against the city. And then they obviously get, utterly demolished at this, and then they run back with their tails tucked. And God takes them on a little hike through the wilderness at that point. Right? So many, many years later, we come back and we're at the beginning of Joshua, and we're right there at the same point. So we're right there on the banks of the Jordan. We're ready to go in, but it goes differently this time. Right? It goes a little bit differently. I'm going to read Joshua chapter 1. If I can get back to it now. I'm going to read Joshua chapter 1, beginning in verse 10 here. And Joshua commanded the officers of the people, pass through the midst of the camp and command the people, prepare your provisions. For within 3 days you are to pass over this Jordan to go in and take possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess. And to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joshua said, remember the word that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God is providing you a place of rest and will give you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your livestock shall remain in the land that Moses gave you beyond this Jordan. But all the men of valor among you shall pass over armed before your brothers and shall help them until the Lord gives rest to your brothers as he has to you. And they also take possession of the land that your Lord your God is giving them. Then you shall return to the land of your possessions and shall possess it, the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise. Continue into the next paragraph. And they answered Joshua, all that you have commanded us we will do. Wherever you send us we will go. Just as we obey Moses in all things, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Whoever rebels against your commandment and disobeys your words, whatever you command him, shall be put to death. Only be strong and courageous. Powerful transformation has taken place with these Israelites. Powerful confidence, not only in Joshua, but also in God, right? So if you're Joshua, you're the leader now. Okay? You've taken control of the Israelites here, and they're all looking to you. They've given you this big boost of confidence. What do you do now? If it's me, probably my ego is going to get the best of me right here. Okay? All these people are saying, let's go. Let's do what God wants us to do. Let's take this land. I'm going to say, all right, let's get our soldiers together and let's go take it right now. Let's go. But that's not what Joshua does. What does he do? Continue on right here. Huh? Somebody said something? He converges with the Lord. What does he do? Chapter 2 and verse 1. And Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies, saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. What does he revert back to? God's plan. The same plan that God gave them the first time they were here at the Jordan. Maybe he and God had a conversation about this and he told them to do this. But what did he do? He deferred back to God's plan. He didn't let his own emotions get the best of him. He didn't let his own ego take over and say, I know how to solve this problem. He said, I've been here before and God told me to do this. That's what we're doing. Even here at the very outset of this, I mean, we've barely gotten into the second chapter of this, and what do we already know about Joshua? That he is sure that he knows God's plan is better than his. God's plan is better than the Israelites' plan. God's plan is better than anybody's plan. And he knows it already. Application for us. I wave my arms too much. Application for us. In your life, are you enacting God's plan? Or are you enacting your own? You're up against something right now. Everybody in here is thinking about things that's going on at work today. We're thinking about things that's happening with family members, thinking about health issues that we've got. Everybody is going through something right now. Are you working on God's plan? Or are you trying to force your plan on Him? So, discussion here. I want to actually ask this question. Have you ever had to defer your plan to God's? Have you ever been in a situation where you had to say, you know what, this is what I really want, this is what I feel like I really need, but God, your plan's telling me something different. Give me an example. Anybody that wants to share.
I can say this. When our house was blown away, my wife and I were in the bed. And when the people came to restore electricity and all, this guy asked me, he said, how in the world can you and your wife take this like we are? It doesn't seem to be bothering me.
And I said, the way I see it, the Lord has something else for me to do with my time. He could have taken it, but he didn't. That was my view right there.
That takes a deep faith to do. That takes
It
a
all
deep
came
faith.
from a lifestyle thing, the influence from doing what's right.
Does that not take a deep faith to do that in your own life? Every one of us have been through some scenario where we really wanted something. And God has said, no, I'm going to point you in a different direction. How do you take that? Does it make you mad? Does it make you upset? Or do you do what Charlie's talking about right here and say, okay, God's pointing me somewhere else? That's tough. That's tough. I don't have any more time, guys. It's 7:30 now. I have 2 pages of material where I had 2 more sub things that we could have talked about, but I got through one, so this is a good one, I guess, for us to end on. Thanks for being here.